Well, we're ready to have some fun, right? We're going to welcome in Wesley Ruff, ABC affiliate in Salt Lake City, and Cole Banker. Look at this, ABC affiliate. All right, in Lubbock, Texas. A couple of sports directors. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to chat this up with me today.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
I'm going to start with you, Wesley. 1985. You've been in Utah since 1985, right? You've been at your station. And
been to the station.
So,
yes. Carl Malone and I were rookies the same year.
Oh, what's that?
Carl Malone and I were rookies the same year here.
What he was the mailman. What they call you, the fireman?
No, they don't tell me anything. They just, I'm just here.
Well, Wesley, you were there in the aftermath of what I would look back on and say BYU's most celebrated season, 1984. You win the national championship. You win the Holiday Bowl against Michigan. Is this the biggest game since that day in San Diego?
Yeah, absolutely. I would think. I mean, there have been some big ones along the way. The Miami game that they played when Miami was #1 in the country, when Ty Detmer was the quarterback, was big. But yeah, right up to now, sure, this was so much on the line. With what's at stake here, this has got to be the biggest game in BYU football history.
Cole, let's get a vibe check in Lubbock, right? You've been rocking and rolling down there, doing such a good job keeping people abreast of what's been going on. My question for you to start is, like, a lot of people look at this team and say, oh, it was bought. You know, my opinion is it wasn't bought, it was built. But inside the building there and around the folks who cover it, what is the feeling as to how this team was put together? You know, where is the credit being dished out?
Well, I don't think it's unfair to say that it was bought, because it kind of was. I mean, no one really disagrees with that statement. I think the question going in was, you have all these players from a bunch of different places. What's it going to look like in week one when you have 30 or 40 new players all playing together? And it's looked seamless, ever since the first game of the season. They have 11 wins. All 11 of those have been by 24 points or more. So it's not like there's been any adjustment period, and they hit the ground running. Cody Campbell, everybody knows his name, the billionaire that's kind of responsible for getting tech on the national stage in terms of NIL. He does it in every sport, not just in football. But you got to credit Joey Maguire too, and he's going to be in there for the head coach, best head coach in the country award. Shield Wood, defensive coordinator, the best defense in the country. He should probably win the Royals award, in my opinion. There's a lot of credit to go around, and there's guys like quarterback Baron Morton that have been here 5 years, and now we're seeing that progression finally get him to the place where he can lead a team to a Big 12 championship in a college football playoff. So there's plenty of credit to go around. Certainly there's a financial aspect that obviously plays a role, but it's not just that. It's a lot of things coming together at the right time, and it's working right now.
Dude, we can't duck the finances anywhere, right? I mean, Wesley, yesterday, I was so stoked, and I think a lot of folks were. I mean, even someone like Cole, right, in Lubbock, like it's affiliated and a part of the Big 12, Kalani Sitake staying put. It was just a huge sigh of relief for all of us. For you, what the heck was that 48 hours like? I mean, how did you cover it, and what did you learn that really surprised you? And I will say, how were you surprised that he stayed at the end of it? A lot of questions there.
Yeah, to answer the question backwards in the reverse order, no, I wasn't surprised. Kalani Sitake is a BYU guy. He played here. He played under Lavelle Edwards. He wanted to be here. I don't think he was searching out that Penn State job. Penn State came to him. He listened. It was very attractive. The boosters got together, chipped in, and decided to give him enough money to make it worth his while to stay here. Kalani didn't need the money. What he was hoping for, obviously he wanted a bump in salary, but what he was hoping for and what he got was raises for his assistant coaches, Jay Hill, Aaron Roderick, and the rest of the guys who have done such a great job under Kalani Sitake. So no, I wasn't surprised that he stayed. The last 48 hours have been crazy here because we've been not only dealing with the Kalani Sitake situation, but Kyle Whittingham at the University of Utah, probably going to retire today, tomorrow, soon. I think he's done. He's had a great career, and so we've been waiting for that. And then the Kalani thing happened. So yeah, it's just been a little nuts here in Salt Lake City.
Let me follow up on that real quick, Cole, before I jump back to you. You mentioned the Sitake scenario. He handled it, and this is not like a backhanded comment at Lane Kiffin, or maybe it is. He is who he is. But he handled it just really with such grace, I guess, right? Being courted by such a huge school like Penn State. What was the difference there between those two guys? I know you weren't there, boots on the ground for Lane Kiffin, but it really seemed like, again, grace is the word, and those situations are impossible to navigate. How was Kalani Sitake able to do it so smoothly?
That's just the kind of guy that Kalani Sitake is. He's that guy. There's no pretense about him. He's a humble individual. He loves coaching football. He loves the team he has. And if you saw the video that came out yesterday on Twitter X, that when he announced to his team that he was staying,
it was awesome.
And their reaction was genuine. They love him. He loves them. Everyone was glad that it worked out the way it did. Kalani didn't want to drag this on any longer than it needed to go. He didn't want the distraction because they've got that huge game coming up on Saturday at 10 a.m. in Dallas or in Arlington. So, he's just that guy. What you see is what you get with Kalani Sitake.
One last follow-up I got to ask. So what are the odds you think that Whittingham, rides off into the sunset?
Kyle and I have talked for a long time, the last 3-4 years. And every time I see him, I'm like, hey, when are we going to retire? And this year, I ran into him at a hockey game. Huge Mammoth fan, loves hockey. And said, hey, when are we going to retire? And he said, soon. And I said, oh, really? And he said, yeah, we're going to be playing a lot of golf this summer. So I really believe that I thought he was going to go last season, but he didn't want to end the way they ended, with that season. He wanted to come back, right the ship. He did that. And there's already a successor in place. Morgan Scally, the defensive coordinator, has been named the coach in waiting. So I really think Kyle's gone.
That's great stuff, Wesley. Obviously people want to stay dialed in with you as that situation continues to develop. Cole, when I look at Texas Tech, it's their defense is overwhelming, exciting, 85 Bears, this, whatever you want to do. If you want to go back to Wesley and I, what we're familiar with and grew up with, but Baron Morton, being a West Texas kid, and I believe too, like he sort of stabilizes that unit, right? All the different types of personalities and players that have come to Lubbock. What have you gotten out of him? What have you gleaned from him that makes him special in your interactions with him that you were like, oh, wow, I would buy in with this guy too?
He's just a really tough player, and injuries have just really been his issue for really his entire college career. Even this season, he hasn't played a full season since he's been the starter 3 years ago. And in fact, most of the past 2 years, he's missed a game. He missed one this year, and that's the game they lost against Arizona State. But you can tell he's playing through stuff, and he cares a lot. And, I mentioned he's been here 5 years. How often in college football now do you see a quarterback stay at the same school for 5 years? It never happens anymore, really. And I think there's something to be said for that. I think there's something to be said with his relationship with Joey Maguire. And you mentioned he's a Texas kid. He loves it here. And I don't think he wants to leave, but he's going to have to, unfortunately, after this season. But he fits in perfectly. And you look at his numbers, he doesn't light up the stat sheet, but you can tell the players love him, coaches love him, fans love him. And I think that toughness is a big reason why. He's had shoulder surgery, I think twice. He's playing with 2 separate leg injuries this season. He grinds through it. And the interceptions were a problem early in his career, not so much anymore. He's really fixed the things that, people were critical of. And he's just really taking that next step as a senior now. It is easy to root for a guy like that who sticks around and plays through a lot. It is now winning finally in his last college season. It's impressive.
30 years in the Big 12, first opportunity at a title shot for Texas Tech. And we saw just the thirst for it when College Game Day was there. I've been out there calling basketball, and even that, being adjacent to this football program is special. There's something happening there. Give us like a boots on the ground vibe check as to how excited this community and school and fan base is about an opportunity like this.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. And Texas Tech fans, it's not like a Salt Lake or a, Houston or a something in the Metroplex area. There is a one show in town, and it's Texas Tech. You go 5 hours in any direction from Lubbock, you're going nowhere, essentially. This is the one thing to do, and people show out like it's the one thing to do. That scene when BYU came down here was unlike anything I've ever seen. And I've only been here a few years, but there's, sports reporters, directors, whatever, that have been here a couple of decades, and they couldn't believe it. is incredible. And that scene in Arlington on Saturday is going to be awesome. That game's probably going to be sold out. I'm looking at tickets to sit at the very top of the stadium's $300 or $400. We have fan bases like BYU and Texas Tech. I mean, those are two of the best in the country, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. And it has been a long time coming. Even in the Southwest Conference, they never made a conference championship game or whatever. Now, 30 years into the Big 12, finally it happens, and you get a fan base that has been longing for this. And they've had good teams, great players. It's just never all come together at the same time. Now it is, and you're going to see that culmination, I think, on Saturday. And if they win that, it's kind of a win-lose, because then you probably don't get a home playoff game. And that place here would be insane if they got a home playoff game in Lubbock. But I guess they'll settle for a first-round bye if they get it done on Saturday.
That's great recall, by the way, with the Southwest Conference. Wesley, I think one of the magical things about this BYU season is clearly what's going on under center. You press the rewind button, and there were three guys fighting for a job basically in the middle of August, and now here we have this guy who feels like the chosen one, the best freshman season for my money since Jalen Hurts, and then you really have to dig into the crate after that. Like, what is happening with Bear Bachmeier? Why is this working so well?
It's interesting because, when they had three quarterbacks in spring ball and even in the fall camp, no one knew who the starter was going to be, and everyone kind of thought, well, if it's just a push, then let's go with the freshman and let him, build up. But when he took over, man, it has just been crazy how good he's been. He's not afraid to run the football, doesn't mind getting hit at all, and turned out to be a great leader. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I think they thought that Bear Bachmeier would be a quarterback who would develop in his sophomore, maybe junior year, but he, in his freshman year, has just done it all for BYU. Again, he's not afraid. He's the moment's not too big, although that moment in Lubbock against Texas Tech, they kind of put the reins on him that game, and I think he was a little afraid, and that defense of Texas Tech is so good. I think you're going to see a different Bear Bachmeier this Saturday. I think they're going to open up the offense more than they did in that game and let him do his thing against the Red Raiders, and I think you'll see a different game. I don't know that you'll see a different outcome, but I think you'll see a better game from Bear Bachmeier and from BYU on the offensive side of the football this Saturday.
Yeah, what kind of strategic approach do you think they will take? As far as what you've uncovered in your reporting, I've heard people say he's just got to get rid of the ball quicker. They have to put him in a position where that's front seven can't wreak havoc on him. But what have you heard in your coverage?
Well, LJ Morton is one of the top running backs in the country, right? And now they've got some of the running backs who have been hurt on the depth chart are going to be ready to go this Saturday. So first of all, they want to establish the run. They've got to run the football. And once you can run the football, then it opens up the passing game. Bear Bachmeier is not a traditional quarterback in the BYU sense of the Robbie Boscos, the Ty Detmers, the Giff Nielsen's, the Jim McMahons, Steve Young's. He's not that, kind of like Steve Young. He's not that kind of quarterback who likes to go deep, but he can go deep. And Chase Roberts, one of the top receivers, has missed the last two games. He'll be back, and he's got some receivers to go to. So if they can establish that running game against that tough Texas Tech defense, I think it's going to open up the passing game. I think you're going to see him do a lot of screens, get the ball out quicker, like you mentioned, and also start utilizing the tight end more in the passing game.
Hey, Cole, I want to jump over to you just as far as that defense is concerned that we were just talking about for Texas Tech. Being around the team and being around the facility and at all the games, what have people come in and said about this defense? People that, whether it's scouts or opposing coaches or other analysts that come into town, like when they get a firsthand look at these guys in the flesh, what is the reaction just to how good these guys are?
Well, when you think of Texas Tech, you definitely don't think of defense. Initial thought, I don't. I remember the days when Patrick Mahomes was here and they're losing games 71-60 or something like that. It's one of those things where you got to see it. Like, you come here, numbers on a page only can do so much for you. And then you come see them put up 5 sacks in a game, 3 turnovers, hold, for example, BYU, one of the best rushing teams in the country, to 60 rushing yards. I mean, that you can't, you see it happen and you're like, okay, this is legit here. And then it makes more sense with the players they brought in. David Bailey leads the country in sacks. He's a new guy. Jacob Rodriguez getting all the Heisman talk. He's been here a while, but now you're seeing what happens when you bring there's not just one star on the team. There's 4, 5, 6 guys you got to worry about, and that's just up front. Then you got a secondary that's very talented as well. What makes him so good is that you can't just focus on one. If you do that, you got 5 other guys that are going to cause problems for you. And there's a lot of other guys I'm not mentioning. They are incredibly deep, and seeing them just dismantle teams is incredibly impressive. And it really hasn't been a lapse this season. I mean, they're giving up 11 points per game, and it really hasn't been an outlier.
All right, one more question for you, Cole. Then I want to get both your predictions, and I'll let you guys get on with it. I know you got a busy day. Cole, why is Joey Maguire? I'll put it this way. We talked to Joey Maguire this morning for the Inside the 12 show I do, and he was like, I'm going to die in Lubbock. You've heard that before, right? Obviously, we hope that isn't soon, but he talks about that, right? Why is it that he is the one guy that when he says that, I believe him? What is going on with him that really has made him so unique and perfect for Lubbock, Texas?
Well, for one, he's got a perfect situation. You're in a conference where it's there for the taking. You don't have to go to the SEC to win. You could be the top of the team right now and have a pathway to the college football playoff every year. But beyond that, he's a Texas guy through and through. He started his coaching career as a Texas high school football coach, went to Baylor and Waco. Now he's in Lubbock. I can't envision him any other place than Texas. And right now he has everything he wants. He has the biggest and best facility in football. He has the most money to spend in football on his roster. He has a stadium that's getting improvements every year. He's a fan base that loves him, and he's doing something with Texas Tech that's never been done before. I'm not sure why he would leave. I mean, you could go to a better, quote unquote, better school with more resources or more of a, renowned fan base, but are you going to have this kind of support every year and have this kind of resource and be able to dominate like you're dominating this year? I don't think so. And I totally believe him that he'll be here until he stops coaching. You mentioned the extension, 7 years, $50 million. I don't think that was even conceivable for a Texas Tech head coach a few years ago. And now it's like, this may be an underpay considering what he's doing this season. And a lot of that credit goes to his assistants as well. But yeah, I don't see any reason why he would leave, just seeing how much he loves being here. And we love having him.
All right, Wesley, let me get your prediction. Now, obviously the favorite in the game is Texas Tech, but let me get your prediction, and then also tell me how, if they can, BYU would win.
I think Texas Tech wins this one in a closer game, maybe like 24-21. I think BYU can win this if they win the turnover battle. That's one of the keys. It always has been for BYU. You've got to be on the plus side of the turnover battle. If they can establish the running game, Bear Bachmeier doesn't play afraid like he did in that first game against the Red Raiders, I think BYU's got a chance. My question is, if BYU loses this game in a close game, do they make it to the college football playoffs? Because
I think they do. Yes, I think they do.
I hope they do, because their resume is good enough to do that. Right now, they're sitting outside the playoffs. So will a loss keep them out? I hope not. I think they deserve to be in the college football playoffs.
It's weird. I've thought that myself. Like if they can keep it under a touchdown, if it is a loss, I think it's a different conversation headed into Sunday. All right, let's wrap up with you now, Cole. Texas Tech or BYU, and then why do you think that outcome will be what you think it is?
Well, I also think BYU, should be in the playoff. I'm not sure if it'll happen, but I think they will. Texas Tech, I mentioned they've won every game by 24 points or more, minus their one loss on the season. I don't think it'll be 24 points, but I don't think it'll be that close either. I'm going to say 30-13 at Texas Tech. That defense, man, I just don't see how it's going to give up 20, 30 points to BYU. No disrespect to them, but they've just been so stifling. And Texas Tech doesn't take a game off. This has been their goal all season. They're working up to it. I do think this situation where, BYU probably needs the game more, so they may be a little bit more motivated in that sense. But Texas Tech's never won a conference championship game. I mean, this is it. This is their, peak of, what they want to do to get to where they eventually want to be in the college football playoff. So 30-13, I think Texas Tech's defense just does what they've been doing all season long, and the offense does enough to make this comfortable in the fourth quarter.
Cole Banker, thank you so much. ABC in Lubbock, and of course, Wesley Ruff, in Salt Lake City, also another ABC affiliate. Guys, I know how busy you are. Thank you very much for taking some time today and having some fun with me, and safe travels to Arlington.
Thanks for having us.
All right, see you guys. Take care. Man, that was really cool. Very cool, Wesley. Very cool.